All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Jody Solberg. I'm excited to be here today with Carmen Sauciuc, and we are having a conversation about her presentation at the Mid-America Hypnosis Conference coming up in the Chicago metro area in just a couple short weeks. So excited to be there with you, Carmen, and to get to know more about your presentation called Identity Architecture, the self, you, and your client. I'm fascinated about this topic. So please tell us a little bit about you and a little bit about what your presentation is going to be about.
Thank you, Julie. I'm very excited to start the whole conference, and definitely very excited about this presentation I'm going to have on identity architecture. Um, Identity architecture is the future of therapeutic methodologies. In my world, if a therapeutic intervention hasn't arrived at the self, then that intervention is not complete yet. And I have so many clients that come with me with years of therapy that none of the approaches have even attempted to arrive at who they are, at their identity. We could understand it as the self, as Carl Jung coined it. Identity is more appropriate for nowadays in the evolution to where we are today. And identity is not a simple thing, it's a complex mechanism. Is who are you? And who are you when nobody else is watching? But then all of the roles that you are all together, and even the part of you that you don't like about yourself, talk about shadows, that's also who you are and doesn't have to be disowned. But most importantly, part of the identity architecture comes with feelfulness, this right here.
Yes, I saw your book behind you. So that is your own invention, the term that you coined. So tell us a little bit about feelfulness. That's
It's
fascinating.
it's a big book. Jody, that's my life work.
Wow.
I've been this book right here, this big one. It's almost a manual, and it's been developing in the past 12 years.
Mm.
So before I wrote this out, I had, this is in English. This is the trilogy. I wrote the creating is at self, at work, at relationship, and introduced the feelfulness science through it. But and then up until when I saw the results that he had on people, and also the workshops that I had with people on feelfulness, um, somebody asked me, "Well, what are you going to call it?" And I was like, well, this is a thought feeling. We use the thought with the feelings to do a whole lot of things. But then as time went through, I figured, well, that's a good question. So how am I going to call it? So since this has to do with feeling, like mindfulness, well, this is going to be feelfulness. How we feel determine who we are,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody wants to feel good. So how you feel in the moment, the state of being that you generate consciously or unconsciously determines your identity at the particular moment. So who are you and who do you want to be? So through identity architecture, through the feelfulness system, feelfulness is not a methodology, it's not a framework, it's a system. um, I didn't know it was going to be a system up until I worked on it for,
Until you created it. Absolutely.
yeah,
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 sometimes that's how it works. So you're going through the process and it develops and unfolds.
correct. So through this process of feelfulness, metacognition it's a important element. Metacognition and meta emotion, and why meta is because it's what is it behind the thought, what is it behind the emotion, and I'm not talking about the symptoms and the trauma. What is it behind the trauma? No, what is it behind the thought and the feeling and the emotion? Um, but the attention, like attention, concentration, observation, and and I forgot which one. Attention, focus, concentration, observation, 4 different things. They're completely different things. But the way we utilize these words is different. And because we intercalate these concepts, these words, we have little focus on how we allocate our attention. And well, we're also bombarded with a lot of information nowadays. So metacognition has to do with all of these 4 aspects, and then going beyond the attention of the attention. So
Okay.
it's it's a skill that is teachable, and I'm teaching this skill. And once you learn these skills, they're there with you forever. You begin to notice little nuances that are important, but you also learn to not notice, or if you notice, to not allocate your attention to nuances that are not significant in that moment, or to nuances that are negative, or they might affect you negatively. So it's not one-sided. It's a 360-degree metacognition.
That's so powerful. And one of the things I really appreciate is that you bring the neuroscience in. So you say it's where neuroscience meets that metaconscious design. So talk to me a little bit more about that, because I know from my experience and in my education that our thoughts, not, they create emotions, which are those physiological responses, those internal habits and patterns and cycles, as well as the external that we put words to, right? We call them different emotions. So talk to me about the neuroscience piece of that.
I love talking about it, but before I go into it, I want to specify that in fearfulness, emotions and feelings are 2 different things.
Yeah, they're
They,
separate. Yeah, people
they
call them different. They call them this, synonymous terms, but they aren't necessarily the same thing.
Correct. In English, we use feelings for emotion and emotions for feelings. But in other languages, like in Romanian and many other languages, you have separate exact words for these different emotions and feelings. Okay, but let me go to neuroscience. Now, we are so gifted with so many findings in neuroscience. I mean, I get about 12 to 14 emails a day on neuroscience, and it's fascinating to me. And conscious, well, neuroscience goes beyond of why things happen the way that happen at the chemistry level. And what I found, one of the most significant things that I found, that emotions are mostly limited to the limbic system.
Yes.
As to feelings, involve, because there's a thought feeling, involve the prefrontal cortex too.
Mm-hmm.
And if we repeat these feelings from the limbic system, they get registered into the basal ganglia, which is the reinforcement, a cognitive reinforcement. So, and we don't know that this happens, but now that we learn all of this, and when we begin to have an understanding that feelings are different than emotions, and through fearfulness, you begin to choose to feel a feeling by choice.
Choose to respond and choose that feeling. Absolutely. That's such an important distinction. Thank you for clarifying that, because absolutely those emotions are starting that limbic system, then we can learn how to choose to respond with that feeling. So yeah, that is really a powerful process when you can help your client distinguish between those two. And I like to call it kind of slowing things down, hitting that pause button. They can become aware of these things. There's a really amazing opportunity for that change work to happen. And then you add in the identity piece. And like you said, that is where that real change work can move forward, because they can step into this identity. Do you find that people really are disconnected from themselves, from their identity, from their bodies, on all levels?
Yes, and not intentionally. And the reason for that is that identity is fragmented.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not fragmented because of what things have happened, right, in the past. It's fragmented also because of who we need to be today and where we need to be and all of the roles that we need to play. And we go to work, and then we bring our profession at home with the family, or from family we go to work and we bring our family roles into the work. There is a switch mechanism that it needs to be attention allocated to it. It's not as easy said, especially allocating your attention in these days of time, because we are overwhelmed with information, right?
Mhm.
So, and then there's other roles that we play, so many other roles. So identity is fragmented. Lately, what has entered the collective unconscious in the layers of the consciousness, at least in this country, there's a tremendous amount of hate and blame. What that does, it fragments your identity even more,
Mhm.
because that begins to trigger in what's stored in your basal ganglia through the limbic system, all of the hurt and the frustration you have with others. And then people begin to take on other people's hatred. They identify with it, and then becomes their identity. They begin to feel all of the hate, and begin to start blaming and begin to behave accordingly. Now,
Mhm.
this is very sad. Yes, it's very sad, and is it's a huge problem in today's world. But let me go back to identity architecture, you, the self, you and your client. So neuroscience, it's fascinating. And in a book and in a presentation, I'm gonna show how the neuroscience is supposed to emotion it has about this length. I'm gonna keep it simple,
Mhm.
but in the feeling, a neuroscience shows that it's about this length. So you compare this length with this length. That means you involve more of the prefrontal cortex and the salience network and the default mode network. Your brain lights up in many more places. Limbic system is an automated system, but now we know through so many different exercises and techniques that we have power over it. We have an extensive amount of power over it. But neuroscience now tells us that identity kind of sits into the default mode network. So there is a good amount of people talking about a default mode network, and all I hear them saying, other than neuroscientists, all I hear them saying is that identity default mode network. Oh yeah, well, how does it work? I want to know more about it. It's just not you throw a bunch of fancy words,
Yeah.
and what am I going to do with your fancy words, right? So default mode network is a default.
Mhm.
Our identity sits in there, and it's not just one part of the brain. It's got like two, three, and then another one, like five different areas of the brain, and then together with the salience network, which is like three different areas towards the prefrontal cortex, uh, decides. Well, before, in addition to the limbic and all of the other brains, this decide and register your identity. And of course, repetition is important. So
Mhm.
the secret to it is that the default mode network is also wanderer, uh, but it's there all the time, but it's a wanderer. So we need the prefrontal, the cognitive aspect to register into the default mode, to register into the basal ganglia. And I'm throwing a bunch of words over here that are is not supposed to be boring. I'm making it a
It's not
simple.
at all. It's not boring. It's very interesting, and it's I know a big topic, and I love that you are bringing that into the practical of how do we use this information and help our clients to find that wholeness in their identity. Like you said, it wasn't on purpose that they were disconnecting, but it's just through our lives. It's through all the roles that we play. My background is clinical psychology, but also social psychology, and we
Oh,
talk a lot about roles in social psychology, about how we become different parts and pieces of ourselves in
Mhm.
these different roles, or we can lose ourselves, lose that identity in those roles. And so I think that's really powerful to look at how it works. Like you said, not just that it is, but
Yeah,
how does that happen? How does that work? And then what can we do about it? And how can we help our clients? And so I think your presentation is going to be fantastic for anyone who really does want to learn the how behind the why.
correct, correct. And everybody needs to attend to my presentation.
Absolutely. Yeah, come to
Honestly,
Chicago. You do not want to miss that.
seriously, yes, you want to attend because you're going to learn the mechanisms of it at the cognitive level, of course. And then hopefully I have enough time to, I'm going to make enough time to go through an experience, hopefully the meta cognition experience. Um, but what I was going to say, neuroscience identity, why identity is yes, so neuroscience helps us understand the chemical um, impact of the work that we do and helps us understand the significant neurochemical impact of choosing to feel a feeling by choice, right?
Yeah.
So why this presentation is called identity architecture, the self, you, and your client. Carl Jung, but not only Carl Jung, William James before that introduced the concept of the self, of the wholeness. Yeah, wholeness doesn't mean perfection, right? Well, I'm not perfect, and I hope nobody's perfect because who can put up with perfection, right?
Exactly. We don't, it would be very boring in this world if we were all perfect.
Yes, yeah. So the self, it's a complex mechanism that has to do with your identity. So here we are doing a therapeutic intervention with the client to re-architect their identity because it's been fragmented. So and then we have to look at the fragments, and then we have to make whole individual fragments, and this is where precise neural language comes in. You can't, it's very significant words that are carefully chosen. Word triangles, I have them labeled as word triangles, which is neural language. And what neural language is that one word speaks to an experience. One word, one experience. And it goes right there at the fragmentation of identity. And then with this, Ericksonian, double bind, dissociation, depotentiation, but also therapeutic, therapeutic dissonance. I'm
Mm-hmm.
bringing therapeutic dissonance with the word triangles. You interfere with the fragmentation because the client goes, well, if this, then why that? The conscious mind, but then the subconscious mind goes, oh yes, yes, yes. And in a very short amount, you heal, you put together those fragments. So the more fragments you put together, the more you enhance the client's identity. And doesn't matter what they've gone through, doesn't matter what they've done, doesn't matter what they want to achieve. When the identity is whole, sky is the limit. You will not react. You will not be insulted. Nobody's going to make you feel small. Actually, the very first question that I ask my client, I don't ask them about trauma, I just ask them, who made you feel small?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Yes, and it's few words, words that they can understand, and it's a neural language, you know, it's an experience. Like, oh, let me tell you this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once we do that, neuroscience, back to I love neuroscience. Neuroscience through the mirror neurons network shows us that everyone we're in contact with, there is a transfers of consciousness because of the mirror neurons, and it's unconscious, and oftentimes we like it and we welcome it, but oftentimes we don't, right? So you want to add something to it?
Yes, I am loving how specific and targeted and intentional
Yes.
this process is. And I cannot wait to learn more about it. So, why don't I go ahead and share the screen? Let's take a look at your presentation at the Mid America Conference. We're going to be there, and Carmen is going to be sharing all about this topic. So, identity architecture, the self, you, and your client. She's going to be speaking on Friday, the 17th at 3 p.m. So, you don't want to miss it. And definitely join us. Mid America is going to be a fantastic conference. We're also going to have vendor tables, so you can come and visit us there. And again, it's the weekend of October 17th through 19th in the Chicago metro area. It's going to be an action-packed, amazing event, and especially going to these presentations. My goodness, 100 speakers, 100 different presentations, 27 vendors, people from all over the country and all over the world are going to be there. So please join us and make sure that you go and see Carmen speak on Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. to learn all about the details of identity architecture. So Carmen, any last words that you would like to say to everyone to invite them to join us?
Absolutely. Every practitioner needs to attend my presentation. Why? Earlier, I just talked about the mirror neuron, the transfer of consciousness, and there's emotional contagion and all that. But let's just stick with the neuroscience of mirror neurons. We mirror each other subconsciously. So the future of therapy is the therapist to become the medicine, not just with words, not just with techniques, but become the identity that the client needs in that moment. Now, hold your horses. You're not going to become them. It is, and this happens through generating a state of being. Mm-hmm. So you take a thought with a feeling through these word triangles, and you become that. You feel it, and as you feel it, you generate it. Imagine like something, you radiate something consciously on purpose. It might not be 100% comfortable to you, but as a therapist, it doesn't matter. You do that, the client feels it. They begin to unfragment, to repair those fragments of their identity. It is amazing. It is just amazing. In addition to using the neural language, all of this one word that speaks to an experience. And then you have these three words that are doing double binds and dissonance and depotentiation and all that. It's fascinating. It's just fascinating. And you're right, it has precision, intention, attention, and action.
That is so powerful, Carmen. Thank you so much for sharing today. Thanks everybody for watching, and come and join us in Chicago. I know I will be there learning all about this very intentional process that is crucial for helping our clients. And you can go to hypnosisconference.org. That is the website. You'll be able to register there. You go to speakers, you can find all the information about Carmen and her talk, and you can see all of the fantastic events that we will be having throughout the weekend. Again, October 17th through 19th in the Chicago metro area. Go to hypnosisconference.org. Thank you so much, Carmen.
Thank you, Jody. I look forward to seeing you there.
I'll see you soon.